I'm Dan Corlett.
And I'm Madison Donor. Happy Quest Day.
That's right.
Today is a day dedicated solely to the presentations, discussions, and symposiums of student work. Let's take a quick look outside.
That's right, and this is the 40th year of the celebration of academic achievements, and we're going to show you some of the hard work that has gone into today's presentations. Today is Quest, and it's the 40th anniversary of the event. Oswego Symposium for Academic Creative Presentations, Discussions, Papers, Plays, and just about every other form of undergraduate and graduate student work.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's a lot. To encourage all students and faculty to be as active as possible in Quest, all classes have been canceled and have been since 1982.
Praise God. The mission of Quest is to highlight the creative side of SUNY Oswego, encouraging research among different subjects and highlighting faculty-led research as well.
Quest officially kicked off last night at the downtown Syracuse Oswego campus with the official kickoff event.
Right, and it has been absolutely buzzing here on the main campus since 8 a.m. with faculty and students presenting and preparing their presentations all around.
So 40 years. In 1979, doctor and psychology professor Helen Daly wanted to encourage more research on campus, and alas, her quest brought us to what we know today as Quest Day. While classes are canceled today, over 300 students are presenting in almost every discipline in campus.
And in 1996, Quest was dedicated in honor of Dr. Daly, who turned Quest into the annual tradition it is today, a tradition rich in academic and creative pursuits. So, Maddie, I'm going to be here for the entirety of our little program today.
Yes.
And I'm going to be talking to some guys later about how to get mad money.
But how to get rich fast.
How to get rich quick. But you have an interview coming up later in the broadcast with somebody. Can you give us like a little taste of what we should be expecting?
I'm talking with Grace, and she has been working on her capstone project actually since last year.
Whoa.
Yes, and she's focusing on psychology. So she's focusing on how we would react to outside environment, the environment being affected by outside sources, and which we would pick first. So she focused on 2 different strategies, and her data chose one, and you'll find out which one it exemplified.
Gotcha. And I wish that we could do a Quest thing. I'm sure we can for certain classes, but my Quest thing would just be about how much I love David Letterman and Oreos. That's the only 2 things that I'm an expert on.
Interesting. So, mine would be wiener dogs, I think.
Wiener dogs. All right, we're going to move on because we're not smart. So, all right. Since then, a lot has changed as Quest Day, during Quest Day, as the school strives to keep Quest up to date with the times. Last year, Oswego introduced an app to keep track of scheduling. This this addendum this year, it's back, and the notifications are about upcoming events, speakers, and the full schedule, and it even has a map.
Can't get lost.
No.
Last year, the 3-minute thesis competition was introduced, and it's back this year. The Division of Graduate Studies is sponsoring a $250 prize for the student who can effectively explain their thought process in only 3 minutes. The competition will take place in Marano Campus Center, room 123, from 1:30 until 3.
I have a friend who's done a 3-minute thesis, and they're really hard to do, and props to those kids.
Yeah.
There will also be several awards and ceremonial inductions taking place throughout the day. Earlier today, the Foreign Language Society inducted their newest members, and later on this afternoon at 2, there will be a creative writing showcase in the Tyler Hall lobby. And then at 3:30 this afternoon, there's a Beta Gamma Sigma event, and an Academic Honor Society there will introduce their newest members. The society has over 800,000 members and is represented at over 540 colleges nationwide. Wow.
So that's a lot.
So yeah, it's going to be a big day, and we have plenty more in store for you right here on WTOP 10. We're going to be giving you a look at some of the unique presentations on campus. We have our reporter Alexis Bruning in the hockey arena later. She's going to be interviewing a student about civil discourse in the country, and Alexis will be joining us from the hockey rink live then. And then she's there for the poster session, which starts up a little bit later this afternoon at 12:30.
And I'm going to head to another spot in Campus Center for a special interview a little later on all about the psychology of social motives.
Good stuff. And then stay tuned for all of that. And like I said, 2 business students are going to be here to teach us all how to get rich like Warren Buffett using his stock market methods.
Yes.
Yeah. So all that and more. So we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more of Quest.
And I'll see you back out in the field.
That's right. We'll have plenty more, like I said, coming up on the other side of this break. You're watching Quest Day on WTOP 10.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
I'm a lot more confident and a lot more sure of my abilities. At Oswego is where I've really found myself and became the person I am.
You work hard and you play hard. I love the environment of SUNY Oswego.
David Richey. I mean, they were. Do you think Bryce Humphrey, a Tommy John survivor, Nathan Evaldi?
Welcome back from the break. I'm all alone. I'm Dan Corlett, and I'm all alone because Madison's out in the field. We're going to join her a little bit later for an interview. But like we said earlier, the campus is alive with presentations and discussions and just about everything in between. Our Alexis Bruning is over in the hockey arena where she's going to be talking at the poster session later on this afternoon. And Alexis is there in the campus center right now talking to Erica Solomon, the vice president of the political science group. How's it going, Alexis?
Thanks, Dan. I am here live at the Marano Campus Center Arena with Erica Solomon, the Vice President of the Political Science Club here at SUNY Oswego. Now, I hear that you're doing a civil discourse discussion. Can you just give us a quick, brief overview about what this discussion entails, what it's about?
So the discussion is going to have a representative from College Democrats, College Republicans, and the Young Americans for Freedom clubs on campus. And basically we're just going to ask them a bunch of questions about different political topics that are stressed on today's society and on campus. And they're just going to answer them and give their differing political views.
Sounds exciting. So I hear that you are the moderator of this conversation. What is your goal as the moderator for this discussion? What do you hope to get out of it?
Well, for me, being a journalism and a poli-sci student, I feel like it's a little bit in the middle of both of those things. So I think it's going to help me a little bit just getting to talk to people for the journalism side of things. And then it's just interesting to hear the different political views. And it's nice to be able to sit back and hear people's political views without having to say your own.
Yeah. So from my understanding is that you kind of created this discussion. How did this all come to be? How did you start this planning process of creating a topic for a civil discourse discussion?
So we were sitting in one of our meetings, and we kind of talk about these things all the time at Political Science Club. So we were like, well, it's important for us to talk about these things, so it should probably be important for everybody else to talk about these things. And you don't really get to talk about politics much on college campuses. Right. So we thought it would be important to bring something like this to the entire campus. And we were just talking about doing it at some point in the semester, and I was talking to one of my professors, and she said, hey, maybe you should do it during Quest. And I was like, wow, that's actually a great idea. I think we should do it during Quest because a lot of people obviously are around during Quest doing presentations, and it'll get more publicity than if it was like just you know, in the middle of the semester,
Right.
some random day. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about. And then we just contacted representatives from all the different clubs that are involved, and they said that they wanted to do it. So
Yeah, and I think it'll be fun for them too, because this is like their point of interest, and I
Yeah.
think they're just going to be excited about talking about it. How did you promote for this discussion within the campus?
So actually, one of our students that graduated is also a graphic design major, so she made a poster for us. I made a poster, and we put those around campus about a couple days ago. And also, we have like digital images of those photos that I've sent out to our entire club, and people are putting it on social media, and we're putting it on our social medias, and just trying to promote it to everyone that we can.
Yeah, and why do you feel that this topic of discussion is important, especially us being on a college campus? I know you kind of touched upon this a little
Yeah.
bit about like just being civil, differing opinions, things like that, but why do you feel personally that this is important for people to talk about?
Well, I think that politics in the United States is coming really polarized, and you don't really get to talk about it much. So I think it's important that we bring people together in a civil place where we can all talk about it without having people yelling at each other or, you know, in super like disagreement. It's just important to spread your political message and let people hear it. And then if people are interested in the clubs that are involved, they're more than welcome to go contact them and go to their meetings. So
Right, yeah. And is there any additional information that you would like to add or tell the viewers before we sign off?
our presentation is in Murano Campus Center 201 from 2 o'clock to 2:50. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erica, for your time. As she said, Murano Campus Center, room 201 from 2 o'clock to 2:50. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Now back to the desk.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis, so much. And like she said, the civil discourse discussion will take place at 2 p.m. in the Campus Center at room 201. And you can see right there the kind of stuff that we have to look forward to today during Quest, discussions that matter, that we care about, voices of the younger generation, giving you what we're passionate about. We're going to move on real quick to the Dean of Graduate Studies and the Director of Quest, Kristen Eichhorn. She took a minute to talk to us this morning. Eichhorn has presented over 3 dozen academic papers and specializes in interpersonal and health communication, along with instructional and organizational communication. Holy cow. One of this year's biggest feats is the record-breaking amount of certificates. Eichhorn told us that this year there are over 400 certificates being awarded throughout different departments. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
Here in 2019, we have over 420 students participating. That's the number of certificates that we printed out that our Vice President of Academic Affairs and our Provost, Scott Furlong, signed each and every one of them by hand. So he knows that it's important to students to get these types of certificates and recognition of the hard work that they've done.
Thank you again to Kristen for all of that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with a live interview with Maddie Donor as she talks to a psychology student, the one we were talking about before. But stay tuned. Like I said, you're watching WTOP, and Quest Day's coverage will be right back.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
It's me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Pretty good today, pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he called a pretty fair game. Come on, man, that was a weak call.
Yeah, man, that ref is totally soft.
You might not know everyone in your community, but if you did, you'd see that people in recovery from mental and substance use disorders are all around. Reach out for support and begin your recovery journey. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back from the break. We're going to go check in with Madison Donor, who's reporting live from the campus center with Grace Rosling, a psychology student who has just presented her work on social media. All right, so now let's check in with Maddie and learn a little bit about what she talked about in her presentation. Maddie, what is going on?
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much. I'm here with senior student in psychology, Grace Rosling, and she did her presentation just not too long ago on her senior capstone project, which she has been working on for the past year. And now here she is, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about what her presentation was on and what her project focused on. So can you tell us a little bit about what you presented on today?
Sure. So I was interested in looking at two fundamental motives. So the two motives were disease threat avoidance and physical threat avoidance.
Okay.
So an example of a disease threat would be something that would obviously put you in a position where you could receive a disease. So maybe an individual that has, features that look like they're sick, that would be an example of that. And for a physical threat, an example of that would be an angry person coming at you, or like a dangerous animal. So those are the two kinds of threats I was looking at, and the motives to avoid them.
Okay.
So within this experiment, I specifically analyzed when a person is seeing signals for both a disease threat and a physical threat, which one would they prioritize as more important to avoid to survive?
When they're in that environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So how did you choose your presentation topic? Did your professor give you a list, or were you just interested in social motives?
So that's a good question. So my junior year, I knew I wanted to do a research project, but I didn't know exactly what direction to go in. So it basically came down to, I knew I was interested in social psychology, and my professor gave me some directives of potential topics to go into, and I knew I wanted to do something that had kind of an evolutionary perspective to it, because fundamental motives is what allows a person to successfully avoid threats, to survive and reproduce and things like that. So I knew I wanted that evolutionary kind of backing to this. So when I found fundamental motives, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I was like, this is really cool stuff. So
yeah, you always have to do something that you're interested in, or else it will be a miserable time doing all that research, since you've been doing it since last year. So you also presented at the Eastern Conference. Now, when you presented on that, did you present on your capstone research paper, or was that just another topic that you were there researching?
So I presented in a poster session at the Eastern Psychological Association conference, and it was the project that I just talked about in my presentation.
Oh, so it was like a nice little presentation draft to get you warmed up for Quest.
Yes. A poster session's a little bit interesting because it's different than a talk, because in a way it's a little bit harder because you're interacting directly with different people who have different questions, and it's more of like a conversational dialogue. Whereas in a talk, it's more of like you lecturing to people, so it's like a one-sided
and
thing.
they're just getting in like a sponge, like an informational sponge.
Right. So both doing a talk and a poster have their own challenges and quirks.
Okay. So, and how did you choose? Like, how did you get people to be involved in your research, and what conclusion did you come to at the end of all your research?
So, the psychology department has a SONA system where individuals can actually volunteer for experiments for credit. So for certain psychology classes, you can actually get credit for participating in experiments, which is really a good incentive. So
I kind of wish I was a psychology student, because I would love to be involved in all these.
Right.
So interesting.
So the results in our study showed overall that individuals, when they're exposed to either disease threats, physical threats, or both, regardless of like all of those kinds of threats being exposed to those, they will pay most attention to threatening images compared to neutral images. So I originally predicted that if you see a physical threat, you'll pay most attention to physical threat stimuli. But the results actually showed that it doesn't matter what kind of threat you experience. If you experience any kind of threat, you'll be paying attention to any kind of threat stimuli. It doesn't matter. It's not specific. So it's more generalized.
Okay,
basically.
interesting. Thank you, Grace, so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed her little interview about her presentation. Now, Dan, back to you at the desk.
Yeah, thank you so much to both Grace and Maddie for that. It's really interesting stuff. For more information about Grace's presentation or any of the other interviews you've seen so far, visit oswego.edu/quest. Coming up after the break, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the stock market and one of the most notable titans to ever walk down Wall Street. Stay tuned. You're watching WTOP 10.
Guys, I don't feel so good. Shouldn't have had that chili for lunch.
When you are in space, you can't run down to the store to buy parts. You have to improvise with what you have on your mission. Making is when there is something new that was not in existence at the beginning of the day.
Okay.
It's an incredible sense of accomplishment when you have made something. That's why I make. Now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Hello?
Josh, the stream's not working. We need you to fix it right now.
The stream's down? I'll be right there.
Back from break, and thanks again to Maddie and Alexis for their interviews and little research that they've done. Here on the desk right now, though, I have two students from SUNY Oswego's Investment Club talking a little bit more about their presentation that they gave today. Here's Michael Nevins and Brian Abad. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, thank you, Dan, for having us here today.
Oh, good to have you here. So, Michael and Brian, let's just go right into it. You did a study about Warren Buffett. Can you just explain to the layman and me who Warren Buffett is, why he's famous, and why you did a study about him?
Sure. Well, we represent the investment club, so essentially our entire investment methodology is based off of how he's able to amass so much wealth and pick fundamentally sound companies over time. So it's not necessarily a study, but an active experience that is still going on to this day.
Right. And I mean, obviously, Wall Street is filled with tons of rich people, but what sets him apart? Is it longevity? Is it how much he's amassed? Or is it how he's done it, or a mixture of those?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mixture of everything. So Warren uses something called fundamental analysis, which basically means that he's looking at how the actual business performs. So this is something that would make a lot of sense, right? If you're going to go invest in a company, you should look at how it performs.
Right.
But oddly enough, a lot of people on Wall Street are more concerned with what the price of the stock is doing, not actually what the value of the company is. So Warren has concentrated on that for a long time, and it's proven to be pretty good results.
Right. So let me just throw an example of a company out there, and you tell me if this falls under this thing, right? So the past year, probably the hottest stock that people have talked about is Tesla. I don't imagine that falls under his strategy right now because it's so, turmoil filled. But maybe it does. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of funny. I use the example of Tesla in our presentation today as a company that has been a hot stock, right? And they're a company that generates a lot of excitement and maybe makes a great product, but the company doesn't really earn anything. If you look at their financial statements, they don't have any earnings. They don't bring in more than they pay in expenses. So that wouldn't be a company that Warren Buffett would be interested in at all.
So we're not really focused on the hype specifically, on the prospective potential outlook on companies. We're more focused on the fundamental health of the stock in 5 to 7 years down the road. Are they going to be profitable? And essentially, Tesla is kind of 20, 30 years down the line.
And does his strategy, obviously he has the money to do it, but does this study that you've shown and the results that you have, does it transfer over to guys like you and me and the folks out there who don't have a $1 billion stock portfolio that can invest in anything? Like, is the trend kind of a universal system throughout all like penny stocks and everything like that?
Right. So the investment club aims to build a bridge between everyday people like you and me, freshmen incoming, and just people walking down the street, to someone that can manage their own portfolio. So yes, anybody can learn the Buffett checklist. Fundamental analysis, we like to call it the Buffett checklist. We take 15 criteria and we put it against a company and see how they test essentially. And yeah, anybody can do it. You can essentially invest if you want to put your mind to it.
Right. So it's not like exclusive to high-end stocks like Disney, Tesla, stuff like that. So let me ask you guys, in the study, has there been companies that stand out to you that definitely fall under this? Like, is it oil? Is it gold? Or are we talking Apple, Microsoft, anything like that? Like, what companies do you guys see most consistently falls under this like category of well-performing stocks?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we can talk about maybe a stock or two in the portfolio. So a stock that we recently had looked at that we owned for a long time was NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is a company that makes microchips and infotech, and that company has great fundamentals. So it's a company that we followed a lot, and a company that we own in the stock portfolio and will hold for a long time.
Gotcha.
And a company like you mentioned, Microsoft or Home Depot, for example, that's been phenomenal over the last few years.
Really?
And especially when you see an economy recovering from a great recession that we had in 2009 and 2008, you have a lot of people getting disposable income left over from savings that they can go and
like
renovate their kitchen. Yeah, renovate the kitchen, improve their garden. And as subsequently, you see companies like Apple performing substantially well.
Gotcha. All right. So just a combo question here. Is this something that you guys are interested in doing rather than just like a project? Are you guys looking to go into stocks and trading? And where can we find the full report of what you guys got going on? So, yeah.
Well, I want to be an equity analyst. That's my end goal. The career there is rather difficult, and and it's very exciting.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'd love to be a financial advisor, which essentially be explaining these concepts and explaining how markets work to the average guy, and basically developing that connection.
Perfect. All right. So, thank you guys both so much for stopping by, and maybe one day I can benefit from the stock market method. And with all of that being said, thank you guys for watching our Quest coverage. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you later on tonight for more of our broadcasts. Have a good night.
The second I got on the campus, I knew Oswego was the place to go.
There's a place for everybody at Oswego.
This school just opens the world to you. Have the opportunity to explore and to learn so many different things, not only about yourself, but the people around you and the world.
It definitely is about the student. I felt it to be very about me.
Now that I'm here, I can't imagine myself anywhere else.
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
David Richey. I mean, they were. Do you think Bryce Harper, Tommy John survivor, Nathan Eovaldi?